He nursed Cowboy back to health, unaware he was the millionaire behind the town's only hospital. "Hey, are you still breathing?" The man on the porch didn't answer right away. Clara Bennett dropped to her knees beside him, her cotton nightgown clinging to her legs, soaked by the rain. The man was face down, blood dripping from his temple, his shirt torn, muddy, his boots scraped raw by gravel. A wide-brimmed hat lay upside down beside him, rain collecting in its crown. "Sir, can you hear me?" she asked, her voice sharp with panic. His fingers twitched. Then slowly, painfully, he rolled to his side. Rain ran down the sharp line of his jaw, washing away some of the dried blood. He blinked at her, pupils dilated but focused. His lips moved, barely forming words. "Do not call the cops." Clara froze. "What?" "You need a hospital. No, just one night, please." She looked around. The woods beyond the barn were quiet, but not in a peaceful way. Quiet like something was holding its breath. She heard it, the low growl of an engine rolling through the trees. Lights flickered in the distance, dancing between pine trunks. "Who's after you?" she whispered. He winced. "You do not want to know?" Clara stood up, heart pounding. She grabbed his arm, pulling him up with more strength than she knew she had. "You have to move now." "I can't." "You can and you will." With his arm slung over her shoulder, they limped across the wet gravel yard to the back of the barn. She struggled to open the hatch beneath the old horse trough, revealing a hidden cellar, originally used for storing feed during storms. "Get in," she hissed. He looked at her, stunned. "Do you want to die on my porch or live to see sunrise?" With a pained grunt, he dropped into the hole just as headlights crept around the bend toward her property. She slammed the wooden hatch shut and yanked an old tarp over it. She took a breath, wiped her hands on her soaked dress, and walked to the front of the barn just as a black pickup rolled into her yard. 3 men got out, broad shoulders, dark jackets, eyes that scanned like predators. "Evenin', ma'am," said the driver, stepping forward with a polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Sorry to bother you so late. We're looking for someone. Might have come limping through here." Clara narrowed her eyes. "This is private property." "Right," he said, still smiling. "Just askin' if you seen a man in a cowboy hat, about 6'1", bleedin'. Ran off after he started a little trouble." Clara crossed her arms. "No one's come by here." "You sure about that?" another man asked, circling toward the barn. She stepped forward, voice rising. "I said I haven't seen anyone. I live here alone, and I do not take kindly to strangers walking around my land." The first man raised his hands in mock surrender. "No offense meant, ma'am, just doing the bit of local patrol. I'll call the sheriff if you do not leave right now." The 3 men exchanged a look. Then, just as quickly as they had appeared, they turned back toward the truck and drove off. Clara waited until their tail lights disappeared beyond the trees before she sprinted back to the barn. She threw off the tarp and opened the hatch. "They're gone," she whispered. "Come on, we have to get you inside." Wyatt Carter groaned but managed to climb up with her help. By the time she got him into the living room, he was pale, shaking, and mumbling nonsense. She laid him down on the couch, then dashed to the bathroom. She rummaged through drawers, pulling out gauze, pads, alcohol, bandages, whatever she could find. She came back with a bowl of warm water and a towel, heart thudding against her ribs. "I am not a nurse," she said aloud, more to herself than to him. "So you better not die on me, cowboy." She began to clean the gash on his head, biting her lip every time he winced. "Sorry, sorry." He didn't respond, just closed his eyes, his jaw clenched. "This might sting," she whispered before pressing alcohol to the cut near his rib cage. His whole body tensed. Then he exhaled slowly, whispering, "It already does." She tried to smile, but it faded quickly. "You're lucky I found you first." His eyes opened, softer now. "Maybe. You're the unlucky one." Clara paused, the cloth in her hand soaking red. "Why are they after you?" "I made powerful enemies." "Drugs? Gambling?" "Truth," he whispered. "I told the truth. Wrong place, wrong time." Clara stared at him. There was a steadiness in his gaze, despite the pain. Something deep, old, and broken. "You need rest. We can talk in the morning. I will be gone by then." "No," she said firmly. "You are not going anywhere until I say so." He chuckled once, a dry, aching sound. "You are very persuasive, Miss Bennett, Clara Bennett." He nodded once before closing his eyes again. Clara sat beside the couch for a long moment, staring at the fire she had just lit in the hearth. Her hands trembled as she reached for a blanket to cover him. Everything in her mind screamed to call the sheriff, to report an injured man with unknown intentions hiding in her home. But something stronger pushed back, a quiet voice inside her that whispered, "He is not the monster here." She stood slowly, watching him breathe, shallow but steady. Clara knew what she had to do. She turned off the porch light, locked the door, and stayed by the couch all night, just in case the shadows came back. The storm had passed by morning, leaving the world soaked and quiet. Mist hung low over the pasture, wrapping the trees in a ghostly fog. Inside the cabin, Clara moved with caution. She was no longer acting on adrenaline. Now came the second guessing. What if she had just harbored a fugitive? What if those men came back? What if he died on her couch? She carried a tray of hot tea and toast into the living room. Wyatt was still unconscious, his face turned toward the back of the couch, his chest rising and falling in slow, steady breaths. At least that was something. She set the tray on the coffee table and pulled the blanket higher over him. "Hey," she said softly, crouching beside him. "Are you awake?" No response. She reached for his forehead. "Warm. Too warm. You have a fever." She went to the bathroom again, this time finding an old thermometer and some over-the-counter painkillers. She cursed herself for not keeping a better first aid kit. When she returned, he was stirring. His brow furrowed, his lips parting. "Daniel." Clara froze. That name again, the same he had mumbled during the night. She placed the thermometer between his lips before he could speak again. He squinted at her, confused. "You have a fever," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "And you're not going anywhere." He didn't argue, just let her check his temperature, 180.1. "You need antibiotics, a hospital." "No," he rasped. "They will find me." "I think they already did. You are lucky I lied for you." He shifted slightly, winced, and met her eyes. "Why did you?" Clara didn't answer right away. She looked at his face, bruised, battered, and still carrying a kind of stubborn dignity. "I do not know," she admitted. "But I guess I saw something in your eyes. Fear, maybe. Or desperation. Or maybe it was how you looked at me, like I was your last chance." He smiled faintly. "You were." She felt a rush of something strange, gratitude maybe, or danger. It made her stand quickly. "Well, if I am your nurse now, let's hope I do not kill you by accident." "I have had worse." Clara shook her head, trying not to smile. She brought him the tea, helped him sit up slightly, and placed the cup in his hands. "What is your name?" she asked. He hesitated. "Wyatt." "Last name?" "Just Wyatt." Clara raised an eyebrow. "Fine, just Wyatt. At least tell me what happened to you." He took a sip of the tea, then sighed. "Some men do not like loose ends." "That's vague and terrifying. I wish it were more poetic." Clara sat across from him, arms crossed. "You said something about the truth, about telling it at the wrong time. What does that mean?" Wyatt did not speak for a long while. His eyes drifted toward the fireplace, the flames flickering quietly. "I tried to expose something. They shut me up. And now they want to finish the job?" He nodded. She leaned forward, her voice firmer now. "Look, Wyatt, I do not know who you are, but if I am risking my neck for you, I need more than cryptic sentences. What did you expose?" His lips tightened. "A cover-up. In a place where people are supposed to be safe, a hospital?" He looked up, startled. She blinked. "You said something in your sleep. Daniel and Drake Memorial. That is our hospital. Well, used to be. It is private now." Wyatt stared at her, saying nothing. "That is it, isn't it?" Clara said. You are connected to that place somehow." He set the cup down carefully. "Do you really want to know?" "I think I need to." Wyatt leaned back, grimacing slightly. "Not today." Clara wanted to push further, but something in his tone told her to stop. She sighed, rubbing her temples. "All right," she said, "but if men with guns show up again, I expect answers. I will not let them hurt you." She studied him. "You say that like it is a promise you have made before." "I have." The room fell into silence. The fire crackled softly. Outside, birds were beginning to sing again, as if the world had already moved on. Clara stood and pulled the curtains closed. She turned back to Wyatt, who looked smaller now in the glow of morning, not weak, just human. "I'll make you some soup. It is the only thing I can cook that won't kill you." He gave a half smile. "That is a good start." As Clara walked to the kitchen, she realized her hands were still trembling, but her heart, for some reason, had steadied. She did not know who Wyatt really was, not yet, but something told her that this man, this bleeding stranger on her couch, was about to change everything. 2 days passed. Wyatt was healing, slowly. The swelling on his jaw had gone down, the bruises fading from deep purple to dull yellow. Clara had helped him move to the spare room, though he insisted on limping around the porch, breathing the pine-heavy air, insisting the movement helped clear his head. She let him, though she kept a wary eye on the horizon every evening. She still had no clear answers. He remained evasive, polite, but guarded. He ate what she made, thanked her without fail, even offered to chop some firewood when his strength returned enough to lift an axe. He was, in many ways, the perfect guest, but he was also a man shaped by shadows. One morning, Clara found him outside tending the fence line, using spare wire and a pair of rusted pliers. "You do not need to work," she called from the porch. Wyatt looked over his shoulder, his eyes squinting against the rising sun. "Not much else to offer but muscle," he said. "You could offer your real name." He smiled but did not answer. Clara sighed. She walked down the steps and leaned against the fence post beside him. "You talk in your sleep," she said quietly. "I know. You keep saying Daniel. And something about they knew the dosage was wrong. What was that?" Wyatt's hands froze on the wire. For a long moment he said nothing. Finally he spoke, voice low. "Daniel was my brother." Clara blinked. "Was?" "He died in a hospital. Not because of an accident, not because the illness was too strong. He died because someone cut corners and lied about it later." She stared at him. "Drake Memorial?" Wyatt nodded once. "Were you a patient there too?" "No." He met her eyes. "I built it." Her breath caught. Before she could respond, the morning silence shattered. The guttural roar of engines tore across the open fields. They both turned sharply. Beyond the fence line, 3 black trucks barreled toward them, wheels churning up thick clouds of dust, sunlight glinting off their metal frames like hungry predators closing in. Clara's breath caught. Wyatt dropped the pliers, his body stiffening, jaw clenching. "Inside, now!" he snapped. Voice like a whip crack. "You're not going out there alone," she protested. "I'm not giving them another shot at you. I'm not the one they want." "You will be if they think you're with me." Already one of the men had spotted them, his arm thrusting out the window, pointing directly at them. "Go!" Wyatt barked again. Clara spun on her heel, bolting, not for the house, but for the barn. She hurled herself behind the heavy door, heart pounding in her ears. Peering through the crack, she saw Wyatt in one fluid motion swing himself onto the back of a nearby mare. No saddle, no bridle, only raw instinct and desperate urgency. He slammed his heels into the mare's sides. The horse shrieked and lunged forward. Wyatt clung tight, the reins whipping wildly as they exploded across the open field. The trucks tore through the outer fence, splinters flying like shrapnel, tires screamed against the earth, engines howling with rage. A sharp crack rang out. One of the men had fired a warning shot. Clara gasped, ducking instinctively, her fingers digging deep into the splintered wood. Wyatt hunched low over the mare's neck, whispering something only the horse could hear. Together they thundered down the slope, hooves pounding the ground, water spraying in silver arcs as they crashed through the shallow creek. The trucks fishtailed behind them, skidding over the muddy banks, their tires spitting rocks and dirt into the air. In the lead truck, a man leaned out, the revolver glinting coldly in the sunlight. Travis Blackwell. Wyatt's eyes cut sharply to the woods ahead. No hesitation. He yanked the reins hard. The mare veered sharply, muscles straining, and plunged into the dense trees. Fog twisted between the pines, cloaking them like a living thing. Within seconds, Wyatt vanished into the mist. The trucks skidded to a halt at the forest's edge, metal groaning. Doors slammed open, boots hit the ground. They went in on foot, guns drawn, voices barking orders. Clara stood paralyzed, her breath ragged, her heart beating so loud she was sure they could hear it. 10 minutes, 20. Then, a sharp, raw cry tore through the valley. Without thinking, Clara ran. Branches clawed at her face, mud sucked at her boots, but she didn't stop. She tore through the woods, up the slippery slope, and there they were. In a clearing choked with mist and broken branches, Wyatt stood alone. Blood streaked his temple, his shirt torn and muddied. One of the attackers writhed on the ground, clutching his ribs. The other two stalked toward Wyatt, guns drawn. 3 against 1. Wyatt didn't flinch. With a primal roar, he launched at the nearest man, tackling him so hard they both smashed into the mud, fists flying. Grunts, curses, the thud of bodies hitting earth. But behind him, click. "Enough," Travis growled, his voice low and deadly. Wyatt froze, chest heaving. Clara pressed herself against a tree trunk, a silent scream trapped in her throat. Then sirens, high and sharp, cutting through the mist like a blade. Travis swore viciously. The men scrambled, dragging their wounded companion, sprinting through the trees toward the trucks. Engines roared back to life. Clara stumbled forward, her legs trembling. Through the fog, flashing blue lights slashed the air. 2 patrol SUVs skidded to a halt, deputies leaping out with weapons drawn. Wyatt, battered and bloodied, dropped to his knees, hands raised. The older deputy with the gray beard narrowed his eyes, then slowly lowered his rifle. "Son of a gun," he muttered. "That really is Wyatt Carter." Clara's world tilted. Carter? As in Carter Memorial Hospital? She staggered closer, seeing Wyatt clearly now. No defenses left. No more secrets, only truth, raw and undeniable. Clara stood frozen as the name echoed in her head. Wyatt Carter. She had heard it before, in whispers, in faded headlines, in town gossip about the mysterious man who built Carter Memorial Hospital and then vanished. Some called him a fraud, others a martyr. No one really knew. She had thought Wyatt was just a drifter, a man running from something personal. But this was a storm decades in the making. As the deputies helped him toward their SUV, Clara stepped aside, heart pounding. Wyatt looked at her once, his expression unreadable, carrying the weight of 1,000 truths left unspoken. "Ma'am," the older deputy said, tipping his hat, "we'll need your statement." She nodded. "Of course." Wyatt was taken in, not cuffed, but clearly not free. Clara followed in her truck, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her fingers ached. At the station, she sat in the waiting area, numb. After a while, the deputy returned. "Looks like that cowboy you've been hiding isn't just anybody. That's Dr. Wyatt Carter." Clara blinked. "Doctor?" "Harvard-trained, founded Carter Memorial, ran it until things went bad. There was a death, his younger brother, Daniel. Supposed overdose. The board blamed Wyatt. He disappeared. Some folks thought he took his own life. Turns out he just went underground." Clara barely heard the rest. Her mind spun. Later, she was led to a small room where Wyatt sat, bruised and bandaged. He looked up as she entered, silent. She closed the door behind her. "You lied to me." "I didn't tell the truth," he said softly. "There's a difference. You told me your name was just Wyatt." "It is. Carter's a name I left behind." "Why?" she asked, arms crossed. "Because people die when they tell the truth. I tried to protect Daniel. He found problems in the hospital's pharmacy records, falsified data, dangerous mistakes. He brought it to me. I said I'd shield him. The next day he was dead." Clara's breath caught. "They called it an allergic reaction, but someone changed his file after he died. He wasn't even supposed to be on that medication. "Who did it?" she asked. "Travis Blackwell, and 2 others on the board. Daniel had found proof they were cutting corners and stealing money. Why not go to the police? I did. They said I was grieving. I tried to go public. The board turned the narrative against me. Within a week I was ruined. So I disappeared, to gather proof, quietly." "Until they found you again," Clara said. Wyatt nodded. "Travis must have realized I was back in Red Hollow." Clara looked away, wiping at her eyes. "I would have helped you if you'd told me. I didn't want to drag you into this." "You already did." They fell silent for a long moment. Then Wyatt spoke, voice softer. "I didn't think I'd survive that night. I was ready to die. But then, you opened the door." Clara swallowed. "You saved my life too, Wyatt, even before I knew who you were." He looked up, exhaustion in his eyes, but also truth. "I still don't know everything," she said, "but I know you're not the villain they made you out to be, and I know you loved your brother." Wyatt's jaw tensed. He nodded. "I'll help you," Clara said. "We'll finish what Daniel started." Clara had never been inside Carter Memorial Hospital before, at least not since it had changed hands. The place looked more like a business center now. Polished floors, cold lighting, the comforting scent of antiseptic replaced by something sterile and corporate. The old brass plaque bearing Wyatt's name had long been removed, replaced with a sleek logo etched in brushed metal. She stood in the lobby clutching a worn manila folder under her arm. Inside were copies of the documents Wyatt had given her, patient reports, pharmacy inventory lists, and the hand-scribbled notes Daniel had written before he died. Pages Wyatt had guarded all these years like sacred relics. Clara walked up to the reception desk and took a breath. "I'm here to see Dr. Morrison," she said calmly. The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but he will want to see me. It is about Dr. Wyatt Carter." The receptionist paused. The name seemed to shift the energy in the room. She picked up the phone, muttered something, then nodded toward the hallway. "3rd floor, last door on the right." Dr. Morrison was one of the last people at the hospital who had known Wyatt before the scandal. A respected surgeon, older, cautious, and one of the few who had not publicly taken sides. Clara hoped that meant he had a conscience. She found him behind a desk, reading a file with a magnifier clipped to his glasses. When she entered, he looked up slowly. "Can I help you?" "My name is Clara Bennett," she said. "I have information about what happened to Daniel Carter and Wyatt." The name made him flinch. He leaned back, studying her. "Go on." She placed the folder in front of him. "Wyatt is alive. He has been hiding since the incident, and now they have tried to kill him, again. Travis Blackwell and his men." Dr. Morrison opened the folder, flipping through the pages. His eyes scanned Daniel's handwriting, the pharmacy logs, the forged approvals. She watched as his expression changed, from indifference to disbelief, and finally to a quiet, growing horror. "I always knew something was wrong," he muttered. Daniel was careful, brilliant. He double-checked everything. The allergy note in his chart, it was missing the day after he died. Clara sat down across from him. "Wyatt needs someone to verify this, someone who still has credibility." Dr. Morrison looked at her. "And you?" "I am not a nurse. I am not a doctor. I am just a woman who found a bleeding man on her porch and decided not to let him die. I did not know who he was, but now I do, and I believe him." He studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I kept copies of the old staff reports. The board forced us to destroy everything, but I had already saved them. I never knew why, but maybe this is why." Together they sifted through files, piecing together old rosters, medical logs, and emails. Clara's heart pounded as the picture formed, clear patterns of tampering, false signatures, reissued prescriptions that had never been administered. Every page confirmed Wyatt's story. When she returned to the station that evening, Wyatt was sitting on the same cot, reading a tattered paperback someone had brought him. She walked in and dropped the updated folder on his lap. "Dr. Morrison remembers," she said. And he has proof. Wyatt blinked, stunned. He helped you? He believed me, and he believes you. He exhaled, leaning forward, flipping through the papers. His hands trembled just slightly. This is it, he whispered. This is what I needed 5 years ago. Clara sat beside him. Then let us make sure it does not get buried again. They spent the next few hours working together, Wyatt guiding her through names, dates, connections. Clara typed everything into a clean timeline on her laptop, while Wyatt annotated documents, highlighting each forged signature, each altered dosage order, each person who had played a part in covering up the truth. When they finished, Wyatt leaned back, exhausted. I never imagined I would get this far. Why not? Because the world moves on. People forget. They let things fade. Justice is a slow, brutal thing, and by the time it catches up, most have stopped looking. Clara looked at him, her voice quiet. Then it is a good thing you had someone still looking. Wyatt turned his gaze toward her, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then finally he spoke. You should not have had to do this. No, she agreed, but I would do it again. He reached